and tell them you heard about it on J Wright Show. Checkmasters, Rivers Avenue. I'm going to be doing a commercial with Checkmasters real soon, simply because it's tax time, right? And people need to cash that check, but I want to make sure I direct them the way they go cash that check at. So we're going to do something for Checkmasters real soon, Rivers Avenue. CM Transportation LLC, J Wright and Friends. I have them. $ J Wright Show on Cash App. Tree of Life Ministry, 6337 Rivers Avenue. Stop by, see Pastor Tammy. New sponsor, but they're not new anymore. It's at this point, they're a sponsor. ILA Local 1422, International Longshoremen Association. I appreciate all you for having the ability to see the value in the show and to ensure that I'm promoting an informative platform that's engaging and something that everybody want to be a part of. And today, for some, for something I've never done in almost 4 years here on radio, on WJNI back here at home, is I'm live on Facebook. So go to Facebook, and if you want to see a really good-looking black man, just go there. I'm right there. But I didn't set any of this up. Let me be honest with you. In the studio with me, and we're going to turn the cameras in a few minutes so y'all can really see the celebrities. To see the folks that y'all probably going to tune in to see anyway. None other than in the studio with me today, I got the Professor Damon Fordham, historian. It is a pleasure to have you in the studio with me this morning, sir. And I know you're going to be on, and you and I, hopefully, we'll get a chance to give away some tickets on the back end of the show for Boone Hall Plantation for the upcoming Black History Month event. But then, along with the professor in the studio, so you're not going to hear a lot from J Wright today. I got a few things I'm going to bring to the table. But I got in the studio with me, and I got to turn this camera so you can see the world famous Boss Hogg and Roxy, the dog. Roxy, as soon as I saw Roxy this morning, she started barking. I said, Roxy, that barking caused you problems. That's why that coyote came out and chased you, because you started all that barking. Little dogs are always, I have one. I have a little dog, little Lucy. They always make a lot of noise. They're noisemakers. But Roxy barking caused her to become a rock star and a celebrity in her own right. So in the studio with me this morning, it's a pleasure to have none other than Boss Hogg and Roxy, the virtual superstars from right here in Mount Pleasant. And on my website, I mean, on the Facebook page, I shared this photo, and it's truly amazing the amount of attention that story has gotten. And so I thought it was only fitting that not only should I bring you here in the studio so that the people, or my listening audience, can see Roxy and Boss Hogg, the world famous DJ, and talk about what has that attention been like over the last several weeks, man. It's got to be one that you say, wow. Professor Fordham, you and I, we're nobody now. This is the man right now. This is the man. So nobody's going to say, those two guys are from Mount Pleasant. They're only talking about the coyote, man. So, cuz, listen, man. Yes, sir. Big story. What prompted that? And then we got to get to the Ralph Lauren robe at some point.
Yes, we do. Went outside on, and I can't remember the exact date, and they should have the date in my head. But 2 weeks ago on a Friday, let Roxy outside, to use the bathroom or whatnot. We was outside for about 10 minutes, and she was barking. They say, coyote came out of the woods. So Roxy immediately ran to the coyote, ran towards the coyote. So I was like, Roxy, come on back. And she ran. She got about 10 feet close to the coyote. And when she saw how big he was, she circled back. And, man, she brought all the smoke back to me. She ran behind me between the legs and whatnot. You all saw the videos. And at that point, the coyote was already there. So, I had to go in fighting mode, and me and that coyote fought. It was crazy, man. I'm glad that we can, take some humor out of it. It was a serious matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because you had to get rabies shots.
Rabies shots, yes, sir.
Ooh.
And I had my last rabies shots Friday on my birthday, January 26th. Friday. Oh, that was
matter of fact, happy belated birthday too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that and that's the important part. The important part is we can't miss the fact that it was serious enough that you had to get rabies shots as a result of it.
Correct.
And that's not a small thing. That's a serious series of shots. And I looked at, after your incident, I looked at side effects to it, and I looked at all the things that people have experienced as a result of rabies shots, and some of it ain't very good.
Right.
So for you to be sitting here, man, and Roxy, little noisemaker, to be here live on Facebook, and for all the audience and the J Wright Show to see, we appreciate you, man, because we always talk about getting into fights, especially particularly when you're young, not old, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But we all talk about getting into fights. But nobody has a story where they got in a fight with an animal.
With an animal, that's right. With a coyote. Man, all my hunting buddies and whatnot, they said, man, we out there scared of coyotes, man. You out there fighting with your hands, man.
What an amazing story, man. And I think, it was a pleasure, man, kind of engaging with you throughout this last couple of weeks in this story. And the Inside Edition, once that got out there, man, you became instant celebrity. Yeah. And I just hope that there's some future things planned, maybe some T-shirts, maybe some speaking engagements, right. Something, man. I mean, something with a coyote around your neck, because that image of you holding that coyote by his tail, I said to myself, I think I'm a bad man, but I'm not that bad.
Everybody tells me that.
I don't know that I would want to take that on. So you did something, man, that very few of us would have even done. Roxy, you are a celebrity. Your coyote vest made world news. I spoke with the people at the Coyote Vest Company in San Diego, and they're thrilled. Oh yeah, there we go. Facebook. If you're on Facebook right now and you're on the J Wright Show, that is the coyote vest that made world news. And you can see the spikes in that coyote vest. So I don't know that the coyote or anybody would want to mess with that, but it's a pleasure, man, because you're from Mount Pleasant, and people. I often on this show is for the world to know world information, and I put out news and about everything. But anytime I can promote somebody, right, from my local hometown, man, I think it's the only thing to do it. We need to celebrate each other more, and here's the time to celebrate you. And I don't know when this story should ever end. But I know one thing: you're gonna always be my big cousin, and just for the purpose of the audience that's listening, my mom and his mom are sisters, and so that is my first cousin. So the minute he called me, whenever he called me, I'm answering, because it's important enough that we work together and we work through these things, because it don't happen every day, and when it does happen, there's no other way than to address it, but make sure that people are aware of it. So, yeah, stand by, listening audience. There's a T-shirt coming your way. Yes. And hopefully I can promote it right here on the J Wright Show. And other things, because, we're going to engage with Department of Natural Resources. We're going to engage with some of the local animal societies and make sure that this story does not go away, because, it happened to you, but it could happen to anybody, right, any given day. There's tons of coyotes. In fact, right after your story, the mayor of Mount Pleasant came forward and said that we have a problem in Mount Pleasant.
Correct, he did.
So that itself, I think, opened up the doors to future conversations about this. And I don't think it'll stop now. But if you're on Facebook and you're on the J Wright Show, I've never done Facebook Live before, but I am this morning because I got celebrities in the studio with me.
Thank you.
And right, real quick, I want to get into a few things that I got to get into on the J Wright Show, because my listening audience got to hear these things. Really quickly, Dexter King, son of the late Martin Luther the King, passed this week, and of prostate cancer. And he had a sister that passed away in 2007, and so there's only two of them left. And I don't know how many grandkids they got, but I'm gonna tell you what I will do is I'll have maybe Professor Fordham, when he comes on here in just a second, can talk about that, because I'm not sure about the grandkids. I just know that the kids passed away. Dexter passed away this week. And I guess for you to listen to this, the number to call is 843-308-8888. 9564 is the number. 843-308-9564 is the number to call in. I guess I kind of wonder what it'd be like to be the son of a daughter of a Martin Luther King. Maybe because I don't, but I know 2 have passed away and there's only 2 remaining, and I don't know how many grandkids, but Professor Fordham will share more with us on that. Charleston County School District, and I got to call, but I'm gonna get the call in just a few minutes. But let me get into something. Charleston County School District, right here in Charleston, and we've had 4 superintendents in 2 years, 4, and almost $500,000 in taxpayers' money to buy out the last 3. Charleston County School District has all the appearance to Johnny Wright to be a local government agency. They're operating like a local government agency because they're spending taxpayers' dollars. And at what? So what should we expect in the end? 4, count them, 4 superintendents in 2 years. And before I get to that call of my I want to inform you about something to pay attention to as well. Is there's a new law that's coming out of Kentucky, and you better pay attention because whatever happened to Kentucky, a Republican state, could potentially be right here in South Carolina. There's a new law coming out of Kentucky where men will soon be required and could pay child support the day that the woman is announced her pregnancy. So the day that she can see the day the day of conception, HB House Bill 243 could then make you start paying child support the day of conception. So pay attention to that. And I just think not only do pay attention to that, but pay attention to how we trend here going toward 2024 in this presidential election, because I personally think that bill probably got a lot to do with the abortion agenda. But you better pay attention because here you are in Kentucky, and they're going to make you start paying child support the day that she says she's pregnant. So what is that going to look like? And if it happened in Kentucky today, when will that House Bill 243 have an effect here in Charleston, South Carolina? Let me jump right in. I'm going to get my call on the line, and then the next voice you hear will be none other than the Professor Damon Fordham. It is always a pleasure to have you in the studio with me. And Joe, at some time in the back end of the show, we want to give away a couple tickets to the Boone Hall. And so you can work all that out for me. But thank you again for listening, for being part of it. The number to call in is 843-308-9564 is the number. I'm in the studio. If you got any questions for Jay Wright, the Professor Damon Fordham, or none other than the world famous Boss Hogg, the virtual man that went virtual, call in. If you got a question for Boss Hogg, here's your opportunity to call into the radio station today and either congratulate him, talk about how brave he is and how you wouldn't do what he did. So let's get the caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to WJNI 106.3. You're on the Jay Wright Show. I'm in the studio live with Boss Hogg, the Coyote Man, and the Professor Damon Fordham. How are you this morning? Roxy. And Roxy. Don't forget, I can't forget Roxy. Good morning, Cousin M, my regular weekly caller. How are you this morning? Hold on 1 second, M. I'm allowing you to say that again because I don't think he heard you. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did, cuz. Yes, ma'am, I did. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Cousin L, what's on your mind? I got Professor Damon Fordham in the studio today, so there's going to be a lesson. We're going to learn something today. Sorry. Okay. Right. Voorhees. Yes, Voorhees. In fact, my daughter went to that college. But one thing I know, Emily, that was a conversation I was having last week about that, about Nikki Haley. And so why I got the Professor Damon Fordham here in the studio, maybe I want to get him to chime in on that conversation about Nikki's comments and and generally about what we should be paying attention to as well, because I don't think that I think racism is a perplex and very it's just tough to really begin to, I guess, to solve it, and even to sometimes in some cases even address it, because it just doesn't seem, it's a very complex issue, and it's been around since it's been around. But anyway, it's just one of those tough things. But I'm gonna let Professor Damon Fordham chime in really quick on that, because I think who better to talk about that? Not me, Jay Wright, the radio host, but the historian. That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, Cousin M, listen up, because Professor Fordham has some things he want to share with you and me and the listening audience. So continue to listen to the show and hear his comments. Do you want to gauge her directly? Yes. Hold on 1 second, M. Professor Damon Fordham.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In regard to, all right. Sorry about that. But we got several things going on here in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. So,
we got a lot going on.
But let me just say this in regard to what you just said a few minutes ago, okay? What you are talking about here, we're not in a time where you can expect a whole lot of logic and reason when it comes out of these candidates during election season. What they understand is they understand how to play on the emotions of their potential voters, okay? It's not about making sense or anything like that. It's about saying what will get them emotionally in order to get them in the voting booths. Okay, so you just really can't expect a modern day Bobby Kennedy Sr., notice how I said that, Bobby Kennedy Sr., or Martin Luther King, or somebody like that right about now. But what it boils down to, there's a section in my most recent book which deals with how in 1895 the segregationists of South Carolina changed the Constitution to make segregation the law of the state, and these 6 brave black leaders who tried to stop them. Early in the introduction of the book, I say this that pretty much sums up all of what you were talking about with Governor Haley and such, as well as President Trump and some of the others. It gives one pause to realize that some of the events of the 21st century have proven that public sentiment does not always align with what rational minds would consider as sensible. And in this aspect, this enclosed story may serve as a cautionary tale of what happens when public figures place political expediency over what they know to be correct. In other words, what you had with segregation is that you had the politicians that knew better. They themselves didn't believe half that foolishness that they were saying, but they knew that it appealed to the emotions of the people who voted for them. And this is what you see happening now. And this is why the philosopher Jorge Santayana has said, those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And since most people don't know this past, that's why it's important, like people like me put this stuff out there so the public can know that. And hopefully, once they know better, they can perchance do better. There you have it.
Well,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And Am, you know, the beauty in that is that this is what he does. So who better to give that to you than him versus me? Because, you know, I could say some stuff that might make sense, but it may not. So I'd be following along with the rhetoric that's happening in today's politics. But thank you, Professor Fordham, and thank you, M, for being a part of the show, calling every Sunday morning. And you take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, ma'am, I thank you for not only your support, because it's people like yourselves and the rest of the radio audience that makes this type of thing possible, because I'm going to just play it to you like this. If all the people want on the radio and television and on streams, if all they want is foolishness, they're going to get foolishness. Mm-hmm. If you want people like us trying to educate the public, you're going to get people like us trying to educate the public. So I thank you, and I thank all of you who are putting in your comments as we speak.
All right, thank you, Cousin M. You know, you're the caller of the year, so you just got about 8-9 minutes. So who better deserve it than the caller of the year? Thank you, Cousin M. Thank you for being a part of the show, and we'll talk soon.
Oh, wait. Let me say this briefly. For those of you who are watching this, you can also log in on this on the J Wright Show Facebook streaming, as well as DJ Boss Hogg streaming, as well as my own. Okay, so you want to support those other guys too.
That's right. Thank you so much, Professor Fordham. I got another caller, and we're going to get that caller coming up here in just a few seconds. But pay attention, guys, because in another 5-10 minutes or so, we're going to give away a couple of tickets to Boone Hall for the Black History Month celebration. In fact, that is why Professor Damon Fordham is in the studio with me today, because he is the very first speaker to come up doing that speaker series next month, doing Black History Month on Boone Hall Plantation. And so I'm excited to have him. He's going to talk about some things he's going to share with us, but more importantly, he's going to talk about those books that he's written. And so I'm privileged. I'm privileged, number one, to have him in the studio with me. But let's get the next caller. We'll get back. Good morning, caller. Welcome to WJNI 106.3. You're on the J Wright Show. I'm in the studio live with Professor Damon Fordham and none other than Boss Hogg, the Coyote Man. Hello. Good morning, Sister E. How are you this morning? Good to hear from you. What's on your mind?
You can get on your phone and do that. Go ahead.
We having fun in the studio this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Well, I think, you know, cousin Sister E, the reason why I brought that House Bill 243 to our attention is simply because of the fact that what happens in Kentucky yesterday could be in South Carolina tomorrow. And if you are a father and you out there having
sex,
say it, Professor Damon Fordham, unprotected, you could be paying for a baby that may not be yours. So that's a tricky one there. And yeah, that's a tricky one there, but I think that has a lot to do more with the agenda of nothing more than the anti-abortion agenda. But thank you, Sister E, thank you for calling and being a part of the show. All right. And let me not forget, I got a dummy of the week, and you know I always got a dummy of the week, and y'all know who he is. But anyway, let me get to the next caller, and then I'm going to give you my dummy of the week, and then we're going to give away some tickets on the back end of the show for Boone Hall Plantation. Good morning, caller. Welcome to WJNI 106.3. You're on the J Wright Show. I am live in the studio with none other than the Professor Damon Fordham and Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer. Good morning, Cousin Al. How are you this morning, sir? Appreciate you always calling and being a part of the show. Yeah. So Al, you're saying that when the rats came and when you lived in New York and the rats were everywhere, you weren't trying to fight a rat. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Thank you. He said, thank you.
Yeah.
I had to do, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, one thing, Al, I would tell you this, just for information purposes, that the March 1st date is a invitation only, and we only have room for a small capacity. But you tell all those folks that we're arranging right now, as it stands, to have him at a location on that Saturday night for about 3 hours, where we're going to invite everybody to come out and be a part of it. And I think as it stands right now, that location will be the East Cooper Disco in Mount Pleasant. So just expect that March out, the event where he's going to be a guest speaker on Boone Hall Plantation is the 1st of March. But again, that's going to be invitation only, so you won't hear much about that. However, on the 2nd of March, we're planning to have him at a location, be it the East Cooper Disco. I think that's the location we're planning right now. And so everybody that may want to have an opportunity to engage him can come out. At that point, we won't be invitation only. We'll be inviting the public. So if you if you don't, just know we're going to be working it out that weekend so that he gets a chance to engage the folks in the Low Country. Okay. Hey, man, listen, stand by. You know you're going to get an invitation. We'll talk a little later. All right, Cousin Al, we'll talk later. All right. And ironically, and we're going to give away those tickets right here in just a few minutes, but I just want to make sure you guys pay attention because in February, starting next Saturday, we'll have a speaker series every weekend in February on Boone Hall Plantation from 1 to 3 p.m. We'll also have a taste of Mount Pleasant Gullah style that'll happen on the 10th and the 18th. All this information, if you go to the J Rice Show Facebook page, I'll have it. And we'll, if you go to boonehallplantation.com or if you go to aaschc.com, again, I'll give it, aaschc.com. All that information will be there about the entire month, the displays. So I want you to pay attention. But in just a few minutes, Joe's going to tell me what caller number that will be up. And then after we get a caller, we've given away tickets the last 2 weeks. And I think both of those callers, I hope you're listening. Well, I know you're listening because you're listening every Sunday. You should be getting your tickets. I may have already gotten them. But we're going to take caller number, going to be caller number 3. And this is for 2 tickets for Boone Hall Plantation to be used during Black History Month. And that's 2 tickets. And so we'll take caller number 3. That phone number to call in is 843-308-9564 is the number. 843-308-9564 is the number. You could potentially win 2 tickets to see none other than Professor Damon Fordham next Saturday. And it's a pleasure, man. Number one, Professor Damon Fordham, to have you a part of this speaker series because that the concentration has and always been to celebrate the descendants and to talk about our achievements and accomplishments of where we are now. You are one of those that I personally, in my 10 years back home, love to see, love to engage because you are one we have to celebrate. You've done some amazing things. So to have you the very first speaker for this Black History Month historic event, we appreciate it.
Well, along with having me blushing on the radio, I will have to say this, though, in regard to a lot of that. Now, I'm a descendant, incidentally, of one of those people who was at Boone Hall during slavery. And so I think I'm very flattered that you would have me there for that. But I want to address something really quick, okay?
Okay, give me one second. We're gonna find out who that winner is.
Go ahead and take care of that.
And then they can engage you and I. Right. Good morning. Welcome to WJNI 106.3. You're on the J. Wright Show. Good morning. Are you the winner of the tickets? You're calling number 3. Congratulations. You are the winner of 2 tickets to Boone Hall Plantation that can be used during Black History Month with an amazing month we have planned. What's your name? Delbert. I think I know this person here, man. Delbert, congratulations, man. And on the tickets. And I'll, if you would just hold on and give Joe your phone number so he could, so I can give you a call later and make sure you get those tickets. Now, hey, Delbert, before you go, let me ask you a question, Delbert. I think, do you have a limousine service? Delbert Washington, I think you knew who my father was. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, man, that was my father. I didn't find out till he died, Delbert, but yes, that was my father, man. And I knew somebody told me that you knew him, man. So I thank you for calling in. Is that right? Well, outstanding, Delbert. Listen, he gave you your first limousine job. Now you listening and participating on the show with his son that he never knew. But it's all love. Thank you, man. And give Joe your number so I can get to the tickets to you. And I'll give you a call because I wouldn't mind talking with you later anyway. All right, good. Thank you, man. Again, Delbert Washington. He just wanted 2 tickets to Boone Hall Plantation. I'm going to give out those tickets every week leading up to the Boone Hall Plantation event. I think maybe next week or the week after next could be. But at some point, you have a chance to call in on a Sunday morning to be a caller 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever caller you might be to win tickets. But before I go any further, there's 2 things I got to cover. I got to get this in there because District 109, there's a vote that's getting ready to happen for that House seat, District 109. The 2 candidates in that House seat run is Tiffany Spam Wilder, right, and Eduardo Curry, right. And for the purpose of my listening audience, I have reached out to both of them. That's what I do on the J. Wright Show. I reached out to folks to try to get them in on the show. With no success, I've not able to get either one of them on. But that House seat, that vote is January 30th. And if you're in that district, you might want to pay attention because it's either one or 2 things as far as I see it, right? No vote, no voice. But in the same time, if you don't care about who your representative is, then don't participate. But if you do care, you might want to participate. And if you don't care, then don't have no expectations either. And that's just the bottom line when it comes to voting. Either you care enough to participate because you have some expectations, or you don't care and you have no expectation for them. They will go to the House and do whatever they want to, and you can never hold them accountable because you never voted for them. So vote, participate, January 30th, that election, House seat 109. How much more important can an election be for a House seat that's in your area? The dummy of the week, I got to get him in there, and I know y'all all know who he is. None other than Tim Scott. Tim Scott, you are the dummy of the week on the J. Wright Show. That outburst about how much you love Donald Trump, I can't understand that today. I won't understand it tomorrow. But I'll tell you who don't love Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani. You won't be hearing him say that. But Tim Scott, for whatever reason you did it, you are now known as the dummy of the week on the J. Wright Show because what you said and done was quite stupid. $83 million. $83 million on that lawsuit that Donald Trump got hit with. Now, is while he's running in and out of New York in the courtrooms, campaigning, because that's what's happening, because he doesn't have to ever be there. but he's going because he's campaigning. So evidently he has no shame in this game, but who's going to pay that $83 million lawsuit? Will it be his supporters? But it's going to happen. And I don't know personally if how you feel about that. And if you have a certain feeling about that, I want to hear your thoughts on it. 843-308-9564 is the number. 843-308-9564 is the number on anything I'm talking about. But more importantly, I got the Professor Damon Fordham in the studio with me, and none other than DJ Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer. So if you want to engage me, you want to talk to the Professor Damon Fordham.
Or his dog.
Roxy, that's right. Roxy will talk to you too, because Roxy's in the studio with us. So we got a studio full today. I love this because it gives me a chance to celebrate others. And Professor Damon Fordham, you mentioned earlier about, Boone Hall Plantation and the possible connection, but also if you would mention the Professor Small. I don't know how many people here locally know him.
Yeah, I'll get to him in a little bit.
Okay, good.
As I was about to tell you, I think it's appropriate that you invited me to that because my great enslaved grandparents, Jackson and Selena Maxwell, were on that plantation in the 1800s. So I really consider it a great bit of serendipity that I'm there now. But there's one thing I really want to address while I'm here, and I'm sure you've heard some of this kind of talk. There are people who are out there going on blabbity-blabbing about how inappropriate it is for us to have this type of thing at Boone Hall of all places. I'm sure you've heard some of that.
Absolutely.
Right. But I want to address that right here and now.
Thank you, please.
What better place to tell the truth about slavery than at a place where it actually happened? All right? Because both the times I've been to Africa, I've been to the Gorée Island slave port, which is more than likely where the vast majority of us who are ancestors from this area were taken into slavery. And they do an excellent job of educating the public to the reality of what happened over there so that it doesn't happen again, just like as they do with Auschwitz up in Europe, as well as other slave ports in Africa. So for those of you who are going on about why are we doing this at Boone Hall, it is better that we go there and tell the truth about what happened at Boone Hall at that place than other people going to Boone Hall and giving you some Disney-fied, Gone with the Wind type version of what was a fantasy of what didn't really happen there. We came over there to tell the truth, where the truth happened, and that's why we are doing it over there. And I hope that solves that issue for people who have contention about that. Now, Professor James Smalls. Now, just like with you, I do believe that he is a relative of the biological father I never met. So,
okay.
I'm very anxious to talk to him from some things that might connect us with that. But essentially what he does is similar to what I do and people like Dr. Henry Louis Gates, is that they get out of the ivory towers of academia and out to the average Jane and the average Joe to teach these type of things in a language that the average Jane and the average Joe understands, because that's what real education is all about. Because if I'm just in academia preaching to the choir, the sinners, it's not the sinners that are in the church that need the message, okay? You got to go out to the sinners and bring the message out there to get the people on the right track. So that's what people like myself, Dr. Henry Louis Gates, and others like that are doing. We're trying to bring the good word out to the people who may not get it in the library and may not get it in the classroom and so forth. So I think that it's appropriate that you have him there also. So those are two things I wanted to address. Now, as for what I'm going to talk about, basically, I'm going to make that connection between the type of things I learned in Africa, bringing it up to places like Boone Hall and what's going on over there, because there are so many gaps in these stories that the average person does not know. And because not only have I read these things, I've been to these places, I've experienced these things, I promised the people at the University of the Gambia in West Africa that when I got back to America, I'm going to tell the people the truth about Africa so that they could get out of the inferiority complexes and believing all these ridiculous things about themselves, so they can learn better about themselves, so that we could become a better people and contribute to us being a better nation. And what time better than now then people need to do what I refer to as the 3 facts, and that's fight the fact, the 3 F's, which is fight the facts with the foolishness, and that's what this program is all about.
You know, I can't thank you enough, because that's the level of wisdom that exposure that you bring to the table in the conversation, is because not only have you grew up right here in South Carolina, but you took the journey and the trip to Africa.
Twice, yeah.
So what better person than you to have this conversation, and we can all learn from your exposure and your experience. So it's not we have to get away from that whole idea that could we or should we be doing something. No, we've got to do something.
What better place than that to do it?
Absolutely. As I've said to somebody in the last couple of weeks, of course, you know, being a part of the organizer of that event, and I said to somebody recently that they said, well, why Boone Hall? I just said to them again, why not? Right? I said, so if you think that this is an opportunity that happens every day, then maybe something's wrong, because you've never known it to happen. So if it's never happened before, here's an opportunity. But what we can gain from that, and what we will gain from that, is the fact that we're talking descendants. That is a conversation that ultimately is not a heavy conversation here in Charleston. In my 10 years here at home, I've said this before, I hear the slave story a lot. I hear, the downtown and that issue. But there is a special group of folks in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, that are descendants that don't get the necessary attention, but we're going to change
Johnny,
that.
can I add something to all
Yes,
this?
sir. We're going to change that.
What a lot of these people who are doing all this complaining don't know is that almost at most plantations, you do have people out there interpreting the slavery side of the story. That's not a just now thing, and that's not just a Boone Hall thing, too.
That's right.
You go to McLeod Plantation, Toby Smith, who was my classmate at University of South Carolina, every day she is out there telling the story about her own ancestors who were enslaved on that plantation. Who better than her to get up there and do that? We are not going to go out there and degrade the memory of our own flesh and our own blood who got us here in the first place. So for those of you who are thinking that this is some kind of minstrel show stuff, please, I'm not going to, degrade you or anything like that, but do take the time to educate yourself before you make comments about these type of things. If you're going to criticize, but make sure that your criticisms are informed. That's all I got to say about that.
And, Professor Damon Fordham, again, the privilege of having you there and being a historian from the area, it's that's direct ties to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so the whole goal ultimately always was, in this creation of this month-long activity on Boone Hall Plantation, was, again, to celebrate the descendants, but to show exclusively Mount Pleasant.
Right.
I don't have a problem with Charleston. I don't have a problem with North Charleston. I don't have a problem with Somerville and none of those other places. I have no problem with them. But when the opportunity presents itself, why not take advantage of what you have right in your...
And why not us, the very flesh and blood descendants of these people?
Absolutely, Professor Fordham. Absolutely. And that in itself, you're going to get a chance during that month. Doing your speaker series to introduce your books and the things that you've written, because not only are you a great product of Mount Pleasant, but you're also an author and you've written books, and so we can all learn. You're a professor, you're at the Citadel. This is an opportunity for anybody that wants to come out and engage. I think they should. This is going to be good for us. And so about one of the books, is there any focus or concentration that you're going to put into the speaker series that we should all be aware of?
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 of my books, True Stories of Black South Carolina, Voices of Black South Carolina, the current one that I have out right now, the 1895 segregation fight in South Carolina, because you see, that's important because Malcolm X made a speech in Los Angeles in 1962 where he laid it on the line by saying, you can never do anything if you thought you never did anything. And because so much of what the young people get right now, they get all this misinformation from these characters who play with their emotions on YouTube and TikTok and all of that. And I'm on YouTube myself, because I'm putting what I consider to be informed information with sources out there. But social media, ladies and gentlemen, is just that. Social media is for entertainment purpose. You don't go to get your history off social media. You go to the library for that, so you can get some real informed sources about this type of thing. And of course, the John Dart Library, which is opening back up, the traditional black library in Charleston, they're opening back up with some really great books on African American history that are legitimate and that you can learn for. So you can go there and get some of the right information. Now, I will also talk about the fact that I'm in the process now of writing a book on the black folklore of South Carolina, the stories that our elders passed down from generations, as well as the ones that I got from my African sojourns that I'm bringing here. So all of that just to connect the dots so that we don't have to be in the dark guessing at all these things, and we don't have to listen to a whole lot of half-baked nonsense by people who don't know what they're talking about or trying to exploit the people by playing on the bitterness of the people. It's time enough for that. So I thank you for creating that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but again, it's also one of those opportunities that, I mean, it should have happened years ago. However, it's happening now. Yeah. So we just take advantage of it, because if now is when it's happening, then now is when we take advantage of it.
When opportunity knocks, you answer the door.
Answer the door, absolutely, Professor Damon Fordham. You said a mouthful there, and so again, this just speaks to the volume of creativity and progressiveness that we have to now progress. Right. And we have to now we have to do things that we typically may or may not have done in the past.
Right.
But, it's a slow progression, but it is something that we got to move forward. And here's a great opportunity to do it. It ain't going to change society because we had 30 days on Boonall Plantation, but it will do. And what I hope it ultimately does, and I'll get your opinion on this, I think it'll make our ancestors proud, but I also think it'll make future generations pay attention.
You just said a key thing here, because one of the great wise griots I met in West Africa was Dr. Ousmane Sene, who was at the West African Cultural Center in Dakar, Senegal, West Africa. He said something that relates exactly to what you just said. He said that now, and I want everybody listening to the sound of my voice to pay attention to this. A wise man plants a seed and knows that he will not live to sit in its shade.
Wow.
So what we're doing here is we are planting the seeds in the young generation, so they may not get it now, but as they grow, just like the seed develops into the tree, it will develop in their minds so that by the time they're adults, they will like, oh, I got it. And then they can sit in the shade later on, perhaps maybe after you and I are in our graves, but at least we built that foundation so that they could understand this. I just quoted Malcolm X just now, right? Yeah. Malcolm X said that 2 years before I was even born. And so I listened to that seed and I let that develop. So now I can use that to teach people here. That's what we're trying to do with the next generation.
Absolutely. And it's fitting. 843-308-9564 is the number. 843-308-9564 is the number. If you want to have an opportunity to engage and with the Professor Damon Fordham and our Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer, he's still in the studio, and Roxy's in here. So if you got a question for Roxy, call up. If you got a question for DJ Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer, give us a call. I mean, if you want to talk to Jay Wright, you can. The number, again, 843-308-9564 is the number if you want to call up to talk to either of us about anything that we've talked about today. Number one, I want to thank you both, because it's been a real pleasure, man, having you both in the studio with me. This is a great opportunity, one that I treasure because, again, in coming back home, this was not necessarily a plan of mine, but this is now something that we're doing, and it gives me a chance to showcase and celebrate.
Well, Johnny, we have to thank you, too, for putting this together to begin with. So,
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I got a caller. Let me get that caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to WJNI 106.3. You're on the Jay Wright Show. Good morning. How are you? This is Jay Wright, and I'm live, and in the studio with me is none other than the Professor Damon Fordham and DJ Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer. Okay, well, hold on. I do something special for first-time listeners and callers. I have never been on Facebook before because I look good, and I know these two gentlemen, they both look good, and we didn't want to, disrupt the groove. So let me give you the bell for the first time, okay? Don't let your first time be the last time. Don't let your first time be the last time, all right? Okay, good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes. 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 Thank you.
Is this Michelle? I thought so. Mhm. Well, Michelle, you know how I feel about you to begin with. So, and your support for me over the years and all of that. So I'm really moved by that. But I'm just going to close that. Now, earlier, I was telling y'all about Dr. Ousmane Seme, this wise man that I met in Senegal, West Africa. He taught for a while at Wofford College in my hometown of Spartanburg. And when he was about to leave, the students can go back to Africa. The students begged him to stay because they were getting things that they didn't know before. And he said he was going to go back to Africa because he gave them the tools to find this type of information that they had been looking for. And now that they were equipped with those tools, it was time for him to go. So while I'm still alive, I'm going to keep giving those tools until, nature takes care of me so that other people can do the rest once I'm gone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the J. Wright Show. I'm glad you got the Facebook experience. Because of these two gentlemen, I may have to do Facebook every week now. So they're not only they're major contributors to the show, they may have started a whole new trend on the J. Wright Show. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show. And I do want to make sure I commented something that you said earlier. You talked about Boss Hogg and the 116-pound weight loss. Again, I say that my mom and his mom are sisters. And my last 10 years back home, it's been a pleasure having an opportunity to engage him. But I congratulated him when he did that 116-pound weight loss because all of us can learn something from that.
But you keep it up, Boss Hogg, and pretty soon you'll be Luke Duke.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Continue to call in. All right. Yes. See, celebrate each other. It's easy to do. It's not hard. It's not even complicated at all. 843-308-9564 is the number. If you're on Facebook, call up. 843-308-9564 is the number. Got a few more minutes. I'm in the studio. I'm live with the Professor Damon Fordham, as well as Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer. So if you got a question for me, Boss Hogg, Roxy, Roxy's a celebrity, right? You guys should see her just commanding control here in the studio. But
and she's been so quiet.
She has been quiet. But we all know from the video that Roxy can cause problems. Roxy will start barking, and before you know it, anything can come out the woods. So, right. Roxy, listen, I Boss Hogg, I got it, man. I just cannot say again enough, man, how much of a joy and a pleasure it's been over the last 2 weeks. Just entertaining what we call our hero. Last week you were my hero of the week, and so thank you, man, for what you did. And again, you brought attention to Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, that we had never gotten before. So people don't want to mess with us. Yeah, people don't want to mess with us because they know we got Boss Hogg in town, and he's here. And if you give me some problems, our Boss Hogg some problems, we might have to deal with you.
That's right. Thank you, cuz for having me, Roxy. Thank you.
So when the Inside Edition, after the Inside Edition story, right. What did you? I mean, how about your phone? Did it blow up? Or have you not even caught up yet?
I still haven't caught up yet, man. I got tons and tons of messages that I couldn't haven't had time to respond to yet, and yeah, I mean, my phone went crazy. Yeah. It's actually still going crazy. I thought the story would already died down, but it's still kicking.
That's good. That's very good. That's very good. Well, listen, we're up on the end of the show. I have had a lot of fun today in the studio. I did something I've never done before. I was on Facebook Live. So look at me. Look, yes, I was on Facebook Live today, but I was only on Facebook Live because of DJ Boss Hogg, the Coyote Slayer, and the Professor Damon Fordham. So I may have to do this again. But I want to thank you all for being a part of the show. I want to thank all of you that called in, that's listening in. And this show would not be possible without the sponsors. Dorothy's Home for Funerals, F. Brisbane Mortuary Transport, a veteran-owned business, Johnson & Hall Funeral Home, Hannibal's Kitchen, Blake Street. I was there yesterday, man. We had some good food and some good conversation. Family Seafood Market, they are open today, 843-747-1999. Stop by there. Check Masters, Rivers Avenue. It's tax time. Go by there and cash this check. CM Transportation LLC. J. Wright and Friends, $ J. Wright on Cash App. ILA Local 1422 and Tree of Life Ministries, sponsors. They make up the J. Wright Show. Without them, there wouldn't be a show. Stay in peace. Until next week.